All right, we're back. Welcome to another episode of Hempire. I'm Pete Barenberg again, and as always, I am with CEO and founder of PureWell, my host, co-host, whatever you want to call him, host with the most, Nick DeFrancesco. What's up, buddy?
What's going on, Pete? Always the best introductions.
I'm trying. It's a good time. I'm in the spirit, in the good mood.
I see that with this hat on.
Mm-hmm.
This is that eggnog? What are you drinking early afternoon?
That's early where you might be.
Oh, yeah.
Not where I'm from. This side of the line, we're perfect timing for a little eggnog.
I think that's what that's called. I don't know what you're drinking early.
There is, and I think some other people might know. And, we got a good guest on here that could be a little familiar or might enjoy some eggnog or two. We're talking about a guy who also, I think you might have heard of him. He's a guy named Little Richard, right? Well, he's the guy who gave our guest his name. And we're talking about, he's got a new album called Crazy on the Island. Got a feature track called King of Pot. We are talking to Crazy Toms. Crazy, how you doing, sir?
Oh, good. Thank you guys for having me. Good to be here.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. And happy holidays, obviously. I don't know if you're having eggnog or any drinks or smoke or anything, but I hope you're enjoying
just
There we go.
Hey, salute.
There we go. So we got a little holiday cheer for everybody. All right, cool. So obviously, let's get into it. I mean, Little Richard, big name. You got to tell us a little bit more about how you got your name, of course. So let's start with that.
Well, it was shortly after I moved to the United States from Israel when I was about 14. And about a year later, we went to see, it was a big festival. It was Jerry Lee Lewis, Chuck Berry, and Little Richard. And basically, Little Richard invited some people on stage, and the guards would not let me go on it because I pissed them off earlier somehow. And they told me to get back to the lawn, which I was supposed to be at. And I basically yelled toward the stage, and Little Richard stopped the show, and he would not resume until they would let me on the stage. He got real mad at them. And I ended up going on stage, and we did a song. I was one of the people who was singing backup. We did the Lucille. So after the show, he was handing out his Bibles and signing autographs and stuff. So I got to go to him. And I was like, "Thank you so much. You've been my idol since I was a little kid. My vocal and piano influence, for sure. One of the greatest ever."
Oh, yeah,
and he was like, "Well, what's your name?" I was like, "Well, my name is Tomes." "You crazy Tomes!" Woo! And I kept it ever since.
I love it.
How could you not?
Exactly.
Well, so obviously we got to talk about the song, "The King of Pot," which is kind of fitting for being on Empire, I would think. But
I would hope so.
It's in our wheelhouse. Definitely in the wheelhouse.
Definitely in our wheelhouse. Definitely. And you said you wrote it for a Vietnam veteran that was discharged for smoking pot. So,
it's about a good friend of mine. He was a Vietnam veteran, and he got caught. Basically, what happened was he bought some weed from a nearby village in Vietnam, and he took a hit while he was supposed to be guarding the ship. And the next thing he remembers, he was being woken up by, the general and everybody, and they were kicking him, and he got discharged for that.
Well,
you can understand, but it's still ridiculous.
Yeah, we don't obviously want to understand it because it is ridiculous, but we could understand why that happens. It's so funny. We had somebody on that was finally able to partake in cannabis and be in the Olympics. So, if you think about things are really starting to change, and I feel that if somebody really had, they had a reason that they should use it for so many health reasons that are out there, then it should be allowed. Because there's a lot of high-ranking officials and there's a lot of people in the military of all different levels that said, we should be legalizing this. We should be able to have our soldiers to be able to use this, or for a lot of different reasons. And if it's not just, PTSD, which we use cannabis for all the time post, but also anxiety during, or even what you put your body through, right? I mean, doing all the crazy training and everything that you put your body for. Listen, I'm going to tell you right now, if I knew I was going into war, or I definitely have to smoke something. Because
that's for sure.
A little bit.
So, so I don't know. That's my opinion, but yeah. So how did you how did you get into cannabis? I mean, I know obviously we all know that Israel is one of the leading countries in the world for research for cannabis. I mean, this is
yes,
this is not a new thing.
And now it's pretty much legal there too. But even before when it was illegal, it was still pretty much, decriminalized the whole time. It was like the society kind of accepted it, like people could smoke hash and weed like at coffee shops, and there would be
like an Amsterdam vibe. Like an Amsterdam.
Yeah. I mean, maybe Amsterdam had it officially legal. Israel did not have it officially. I don't know if they do now, but it was, any kind of laws against it was mostly unenforced. So
they kind of looked the other way.
Exactly. People were pretty much safe smoking at the coffee shops, or, just as long as it's not like like real, public places or whatever. Or I don't know.
Right.
It'd be pretty hard to get in trouble for weed in Israel. I mean, I haven't really heard any cases of that.
Well, that's good.
So it's a little different than like some places in America, like in the South, where it's still, you can go to jail for it.
It's funny. I mean, it and I think that everybody's under the assumption at this point that it's fully illegal everywhere. And federally illegal, it would be the right classification. But like, for example, even in South Florida, Palm Beach County, Dade County, missing Broward County, I think it's a ticket, it's decriminalized, right? So in Philadelphia, decriminalized. In some of the major cities. Why? Because they don't have time to put these fucking people in for smoking a joint. Like, there's people killing people in these cities. I mean, this is something that's a little bit more important than somebody.
And yet they seem to not be able to handle the killings either. It's just the wild thing. What are they fucking doing?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
To me, the whole, war against pot, it's complete insanity to begin with. It should have never, ever happened. I mean, why would you, the whole concept of arresting people for, smoking something, it's completely dumb and harmful to the society, in my opinion.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you're getting arrested for gardening. You're basically getting arrested for gardening.
Exactly.
And then what I don't understand is like, well, Israel of all places doing all this research and all these health benefits. Listen, you go grab a fucking crack pipe. There's no health benefit in a crack pipe. Okay, there's no. But when you're talking about marijuana and all the things that it treats, come on. I mean, we keep saying this over and over again, but it still isn't. And this is why we have the show. Mainstream media. Oh, still it's pot. Still it's marijuana. Still, I don't know. It's going to get me high. I don't want to. And there's a lot of things out there, including CBD, that don't get you high at all. Yeah,
exactly.
So it's just, again, this is what we have to do, educating and things like that. And of course, this is why we have people on there. So, the King of Pots speaks to the world needing to focus on enjoying life rather than arresting people for victimless crimes. So talk to you how your music transitions to that, because obviously it's an issue.
Well, the way I see it is exactly that. It's like, why are we going and fighting wars and arresting people for victimless crimes, and stuff that in many cases it helps. It's necessary for the health, and I can speak as one of them. It treats not only anxiety, but everything from cancer to pretty much all kinds of things.
All types of right. There's a lot of different, and I don't expect you to be an expert on all the different things that cannabis treats, but just on the basic modalities, there's about 58 of them.
58. Right, wow, it's even more.
8 modalities, and these are from normal things. This could be like migraines and menstrual cramps. This
right,
could go
migraine.
M&Ms, they call it.
Good
old M&Ms.
Good old M&Ms. You have, PTSD, which we talked about. You have epilepsy.
PTSD.
You have PTSD, ADD,
Parkinson's, Crohn's.
I mean, this is people. Come on, like you need to be educated on instead of always going. And I'm not saying there's not a place for pharmaceuticals. I'm not, because there's times where that's what you need. I mean, there's just not, maybe it's even just a antibiotic. Okay. So,
but what's the hypocrisy of it is that they're pushing all of those drugs, all of those opiates, get people addicted, get people dying, like fentanyl, like stuff that's completely legal.
Right.
Fentanyl, and it kills people. But yet, if, I want to help my problems without, going into opiates, I want to just smoke weed. And, and then I'm risking, basically legal problems and prison, so it's completely ridiculous. And, the whole point of my song is it's like, why don't we all just have fun, get high, whether it's on weed or just on life, I don't care, but just get high and have a good time. And, don't, let's end all the negativity, all the, hurting people for.
Yeah, getting high isn't for just
for good reason, or wars around the world. We don't need
or
that.
Addiction. Why are we contributing to addiction? We already have a war on drugs. Do we? I mean, we definitely have a war, but what I'm saying, are we really helping that war?
No.
Are we contributing to it?
It was just like with alcohol prohibition, and I'm not a huge fan of alcohol on a personal level, but it didn't work. Right. Because things like that don't work. People will do what they want to do, and you can either make them criminals, or you can just accept people's right to do whatever they want to do with their body, and address any kind of topics a different way, rather than use this kind of a force and war on drugs, war on alcohol. It doesn't work, and it never
education. Did. I mean,
that's what it boils down to.
What I'm saying is if people are going to make a choice, right? This is what you're saying to me.
Yeah.
Like, look, people are they have the right, which everybody has a right to free, to make their own choice, right? Okay. So if you have a choice and you're educated and you still make a choice, again, I think that was an educated decision. Now, I get what people say. Well, people know about heroin and crack and all, and they, drinking and driving, and they still get into a car. True.
Right.
So there's definitely needs to be, regulations, but it shouldn't be illegal. There's a big difference, and that's where I'm having an issue. Like, I push for regulations all the time, and we were the first company to ever put COA labels on boxes so people
QR
know
codes.
Exactly what's on there, which is a QR code leads to a COA, so certificate of analysis. So it talks about the what's in a product, but what's also what's not in it, right? So like you don't want pesticides or heavy metals or that, but it's also what the content of what it has in it, what type of cannabinoids or what milligrams and things like that.
Terpene profile.
Terpene profile. So most things that you go to a store at the supermarket that you're consuming on a daily basis doesn't have anything like this. There is no regulation. I mean, you go to GMC or any of these supplement stores, there's no regulation. So I do believe that there should be regulation, or even when you go to food, well, the FDA approved. Yeah, well, we're USDA certified organic, but I show you what's in it. I mean, I don't just say it on a box.
Sure.
Right.
Yes,
and
yes.
so it's a little different, right? I mean, even some of the medications that we take over the counter, Advil, or even the way that medications are, that they have a tolerable limit of how close they need to get to a specific, like if they're patented for this X, Y, and Z, and this is what these ingredients, they can have a deviation of up to 20%. When you have, 30% of a generic. So a generic has to be, I think, 20 to 30% of what the actual name brand recognition is. People take generics every single day. They don't even know what they're taking. So it's
Right.
just like, it's just.
And what is that filler? What is the other? Whatever the 20 to 30% is, what other shit is inside of that then?
You know, and I'll go low. Even if it was 10, even if it was 5%, why is that okay? Like, why is 5 to 10%? Even if I was completely wrong with the 30%, which I know it's not.
Yeah, numbers might not be your forte.
But my point is that, and we should look that up. Actually, we should look up the standard deviation. But even if it was 5 or 10%, come on, like you need to know what's in your products and what you're taking. So I do think that there's regulations. But let's say that you know the alcohol, what's in the alcohol. You still get in the car, you get in an accident. Okay. Well, alcohol leads to more than hundreds of thousands of deaths a year. Cannabis led to zero.
Nobody
zero.
has ever died from weed in history.
Never died. I mean, if anything, when they're like, well, smoking under the influence. Now, I am not condoning smoking under the influence. I am not saying that. I mean, driving under the influence in any way. But I'm just saying, you know, you see these movies and they say, well, was I speeding, officer? You were going 80 miles an hour. No, 8 miles an hour. If anything, it slows you down.
I was like, just like the guy who came in here. He said him and his wife, they decided to take an edible. He had to be at least 60, 65. And he was like, I ate an edible. We were leaving, our friend's house. And then all of a sudden he goes to get out and he's like, I'm, feeling a little weird, but he thinks he started to close the window down. She goes, what is wrong with you? You're going 4 miles an hour. He's like, no, I'm not. He's like, I'm easily going 40 to 50. She's like, and he pulled right over and he goes, and you're fucking driving. He's like, I can't do this. And then he looked at her. He goes, why are you speeding? And she's like, you need to go to sleep. And he's like, it was way too much for him. So no one's ever speeding or ever driving too fast. It's always too slow.
I mean, come on. This is, and yes, and most marijuana users, it leads to other things, junk food.
Right.
I mean,
everybody starts with milk before they do hard drugs or alcohol.
Right. Milk is
a
gateway
gateway
to
drug.
everything.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I mean, again,
but I'll tell you one thing. In my experience, in the music business, you meet a lot of people with different, substance users and stuff. And from what I gathered, most people, who are into hard drugs, like the ones we're talking about, the danger, they don't even like weed. Right. I mean, most of the people who like into coke or meth or whatever, they either don't smoke weed or they, it's something that they don't really care about. In my
they want that upper.
Oh, they look at you.
You know what I mean? They want
marijuana, pussies.
Right, exactly. That's the attitude. Yeah.
Right. So it's just like we're not leading. Whatever. So let's talk about. You said some different people in music. So you had the album that you had just put out had musical contributions from Remy Kabaka, who played with the Rolling Stones and Paul Simon. If you guys don't know,
yes.
As well as a member of Ambrosia.
Just a couple legends.
Right. So Three Dogs Night, and Cameo. This is quite a wrecking crew of session players as you have. So talk to us a little bit about the collaborations and how that even comes about and how it was like working with them.
Well, it's just amazing. I mean, I'm blessed to know a lot of music legends from back in the day, like 60s and 70s. Like
That's awesome.
You mentioned Remy Kabaka. He played on Sympathy for the Devil with the Rolling Stones, and now I covered Sympathy for the Devil with him on my last album too.
That's cool.
And then he plays a lot like most of the percussions on my new album and some drums too. He plays drums on the title track, Crazy on the Island. And then Ambrosia, Burley Drummond, the drummer from the beginning, and now even he co-produced this album, and he played the drums on many of the tracks too. And then also, most importantly, I have the Chambers Brothers on it, the 60s legendary band that known for Time Has Come Today. They actually co-wrote a musical part on King of Pot, my new single, and they sing on it, and they sing on other songs too, which is a big honor. I've been playing with them ever since they reunited about 8 years ago, and I've been their lead guitar player. And also, this album features some of the last work by Guitar Shorty. For those who may not know, he's a blues legend. He just passed away this April, unfortunately. But he was Jimi Hendrix's mentor, and he was one of the electric Guitar Shorty.
Shorty. And it's so
Guitar
funny because I don't know if you can see, but we're big fans of Jimi Hendrix. So we have a...
Well, Shorty was his brother-in-law. He was married to Jimmy's sister, and he was Jimmy's idol. Jimmy used to run away from his army military base to see Shorty play, and eventually he became his mentor. He introduced him to the wah pedal.
Okay.
And anyway, so I was Guitar Shorty's bandmate for the last 9 years of his life. At first, I was his bass player, and then I switched to being his guitar player. And over the years, we just became best friends, and he would play on my recordings quite often. And this album features some of his last work. He does some lead guitar, some amazing stuff. He was 87 when he passed, and he was great until the end. One of those guys.
It's funny. I feel like some of these musicians never age. Like, I just saw Santana, and Santana is playing like, I don't know. I think he's better now. Like, I agree. He was nonstop. I actually took my mom she wanted to go so bad. She's like, it was Earth, Wind, and Fire and Santana.
Oh, wow.
And it was
that's a show.
West Palm. Yeah, it was really an amazing show. And he came out so hard. Like, he really, look, he's not the center of the stage. I mean, you think it's Santana, but he's playing the guitar. I mean, he's zoned in. You could see he obviously controls everything, but he's not center stage. Like, he cares about just playing the guitar. And I mean, again, he'll sing a little bit, but it's that guitar playing, and he's so hard, and he's coming out, and it's nonstop. I mean, he feels like he had way more energy and way more excitement than the guys that were like 20s running around the stage.
Way better. And you know what's funny? Santana was, glad you mentioned him, he was my first rock concert ever. When I was
that's cool.
So
I went to see him right when Smooth came out.
Yeah.
I was
okay.
He's amazing.
Awesome. Well,
and those legends, they still have it till this day. Like, I just went to see Stevie Wonder. I went to see Smokey Robinson, the Doobie Brothers, and all of them. They're like 78 years old, and they sound better than ever.
Not for nothing, but did you have to take a time machine to that concert to get all these people at once? Shit.
Right, exactly.
It's safe that way, yeah.
Well, you performed with a bunch of people on stage, a handful of blues legends like Alvin Bishop or Walter Trout.
Yes.
Coco Taylor, David Honeyboy Edwards. I'm reading some of these. Kristen Kingfish Ingram, Wayne.
Yeah,
Kramer.
Kingfish, Chris Stone. Yeah. Kingfish. He's the new. He actually just won a Grammy for the best blues album. He's a young cat, about 22 years old, and he's like a big star now. Very deservingly.
You got to be able to tell us some stories or some. Again, how do you network? How are you getting in with these guys to be able to get on stage with them, or do you like to pull them and then do collaborations? And you got to have some crazy stories. We always ask.
I guess I'm kind of like the Forrest Gump of rock music. I somehow end up in those situations. Well, pretty much. I moved to Los Angeles. I was going to college and high school in Virginia, and I moved to LA when I was 22 with nothing, maybe like a couple $100s and a guitar on my back, and that's it, and a couch to sleep on, and I had to build my life, from there. That was over 15 years ago, and the truth is, there's no. Maybe there are shortcuts in this music business, but not in my experience. So you basically, I had to do the hard work and take it step by step. I expected to come to LA and become a big star right away, and the rest is history kind of thing. But it doesn't work that way. It's like you have to really pay your dues. And
But now
people told me that, but I was like, whatever. And then I realized, they didn't know how much dues you gotta pay to get anywhere. But you know what? After performing for so long and just playing with different bands, meeting different people, doing different things, it's like you just build your like your circuit, your own circle of friends and stuff. And throughout it, I was blessed enough to become friends with some major legends, including some of the ones you've mentioned, like Walter Trout. I just actually went to see him again at his concert, and wonderful people. And I was lucky enough to have some help and mentorship from great musicians who taught me to be better, and I've learned a lot. What to do, what not to do.
So even though you were paying your dues, so to speak, but you were gaining an education, but you put together one hell of a laundry list along the way. So at the time, you might not have think you're this big giant star. Now, even looking back and let's say the years of 10 to 20 years you've been doing it, you look back and go, oh shit, that's what a star would look like. You know what I mean? So you do have the accoutrement of the accolades that anybody else would have. You just got a different route of getting there. You know what I mean? Which probably might have been a little bit more fun on your way because there's a lot more knowledge you learned.
Well, and I'm lucky enough that I'm able to, I do my own music, but I also have been backing up, many people, like all those guys I mentioned, the Chambers Brothers, Guitar Shorty, and currently I'm touring with the Red Elvises as well. We just did a Florida tour. So I know how to back people up and how to work within bands too. So that kind of helps, being able to play different styles of music, different genres, and learn other people's material.
Is there anybody that you're, let's say, looking forward to either trying to work with, or you're trying to meet on the same path that you can maybe do another collab with?
With people that already collaborate, or like new people?
Like someone you're looking forward to, or you really would like the opportunity to.
But he said it's like Forrest Gump. It kind of just happens.
Right. That's why I'm asking about the aspiration in his head. Like, who would you go?
My dream collaboration would be probably among the living people. It would be Paul McCartney, and it would be Rolling Stones.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, of course. Well.
I got it. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, with all these people there's got to be a crazy story. Is there anything you remember being on tour or with any of these guys, just like a moment that stuck up in your head that you just remember that was just like, I got to tell you this story?
Well, I'll tell you. Yeah,
going through the
sure.
Rolodex, Pete. I mean, there's a lot.
I'll-
A long pause on that.
I thought the
I'll
smoke I saw was from what he's smoking, but nope, it's him from just thinking.
well, a little bit of everything, but there's just so many amazing stories. But I'll tell you one that strikes in mind since you mentioned Elvin Bishop. For those who don't know, he's known for the song "Fool Around and Fell in Love." So I was playing with Guitar Shorty in a club in San Francisco called Biscuits and Blues. And we do like 2 sets there, 2 big sets. So during the break, after we finish our first set, I see like an older white guy, setting up, like putting his amp by my amp, and I'm like, and I'm like, what the hell is he doing? And I went to Shorty. I was like, hey Shorty, who is this guy? And Shorty was like, oh, that's he's good. He's got to play with us. I was like, do you know him? I was like, yeah, I know him. His name was Bishop. And then I look back at Elvin Bishop. Wow, yeah, Elvin Bishop. And I was like, holy shit. And then Elvin Bishop ended up doing like a whole set with us.
Wow, nice.
Damn.
So there you go. I knew I could dig a little bit. I could hear. I knew I could get a little bit of story out of you. So, so now where can listeners get a chance to listen to your new album? Of course, obviously King of Pot. Where could they come and find
Yeah,
it?
so King of Pot is already out. It's on Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music, everywhere for downloads, streaming. But it's the radio version. Now there's a longer album version that's unedited, and it's like twice as long. It's like 7.5 minutes or more.
Wow, it's a long time.
And it's gonna be on the album Crazy on the Island. It's gonna be released January 6th next year. And it'll be on all the streaming and downloading websites. Like I said, they can get that. Also, I will have hard copies of it too, so you'll be able to order it.
Oh, that's great.
So great.
Awesome.
Sounds like that extended time is just enough what you need to start and finish a joint. So I like the new timing on that. You can't quite do that off the radio. So
Exactly.
that's perfect, man. Well, I tell you what, Crazy Toms, man, it has been a pleasure. We do appreciate your time there. And just for anything else, just give them one more time where they can follow you or support you.
Yes. So you can follow me. Well, my website is crazytomes.com. And then all the Facebook, Twitter, you can find me by Crazy Tomes, Instagram, of course. And then also Reverb Nation, reverbnation.com/crazytomes. My music is available for streaming now, and the album will be at one point available for streaming there too.
Awesome.
But it'll be available for like purchase and download and streaming January 6th.
Nice. Awesome.
Excellent. Just in time to get out of the holidays.
Huh? Yes,
I was saying it's a good time. I was right after the holidays to have best way to decompress from that stress. Get yourself a little music from the King of Pot himself, Crazy Tomes. So we do appreciate it, ma'am. And while everybody's out there supporting our buddy here, go ahead and do the same for us. We'd like you to like, subscribe, share, comment on all the podcast platforms that you utilize, like Amazon, Spotify, iHeart, our flagship Cannabis Radio. And then, of course, if you want to check out anything we do, you get yourself 20% off at purewell.com. That's PURWELL.com. Use that code Hempire for 20% off. And until we see you next time, remember to keep yourself getting educated. And Crazy, we'll see you again, man.
Thank you so much, and keep doing the amazing job you guys are doing. I fully support it. And let's rock it and let's get high.
Well, there you go. Let's get high. Raise that vibration. Until next week, we'll see you.
The opinions expressed on this CannabisRadio.com program are those of the guests and hosts and do not necessarily reflect those of the staff and management of CannabisRadio.com. Any rebroadcast, republication, or retransmission of this program without proper consent is prohibited.